Let's dive right into today's explainer. We're going to be unpacking a really fascinating traditional Hindi story that dives deep into the concepts of dharma, karma, and how a pure heart can ultimately triumph over a pretty cruel society. The story is called Barish Mein Garib Ke Mehman, which roughly translates to the poor man's guests in the rain. And it offers us a brilliant, unfiltered window into human nature. Today we're going to break down the narrative structure, the intense character dynamics, and the powerful philosophical lessons hidden inside this seemingly simple tale.
You are a jinx. That's why you have no relatives, no friends, no one. Wow, right? Right off the bat, we're thrust into this incredibly hostile, prejudiced world that our protagonist, Dhiru, is forced to live in. Dhiru is an orphan, a day laborer who's grown up entirely on his own. But instead of getting even an ounce of sympathy from his community, he's actively shunned. The villagers actually label him a jinx. They take his lack of family and twist it, equating his social standing with some fundamental flaw in his character. It perfectly sets the stage for a story where social isolation isn't just bad luck, it's practically a weapon used by society against a guy who just wants to live and work in peace.
Section 1. Continuous rain and struggle. So the continuous rain here is actually a really powerful metaphor for Dhiru's endless suffering and his inescapable poverty. Picture this. It's been raining nonstop for a solid week. For a daily wage laborer like Dhiru, no work literally means no money, and no money means your basic survival is suddenly on the line. Their vegetables are rotting and full of bugs. Their roof is leaking everywhere. The actual walls of their modest little home are soaked completely through. It's just a claustrophobic, incredibly desperate situation. Ultimately, driven by the sheer human instinct to survive, Dhiru is forced to step out into this severe, punishing storm just to beg for work from the local landowner, Thakur Durjampratap.
Section 2. The bitter truths of society. Now this brilliantly illustrates the story's core conflict. It's the stark contrast between the villagers and Dhiru. Think about it. The villagers have everything that makes a comfortable life: sturdy homes, secure jobs, a tight-knit community. Yet they completely lack basic humanity. The absolute second Dhiru arrives at the warehouse, soaking wet and just fighting for his livelihood, they immediately start taunting him, calling him a jinx again. On the flip side, we have Dhiru. The man has absolutely zero material wealth, but he maintains this profound sense of humility. He genuinely looks at them and asks, "What wrong have I done to you?" And they have no logical answer for him. They just hate him for his bad luck.
Section 3. Welcoming unknown guests. This moment right here, this is the moral center of our entire explainer. Two travelers, Ronan and Junkie, are trapped. They have no relatives in this village, nowhere to stay, and the storm is just raging outside. Now, realistically, Dhiru could have easily walked right past them. I mean, he's destitute. He literally has nothing to offer. But instead, he invites them to his home, truly believing that humanity has to come first. And when he brings them back, his wife Kajri doesn't complain for a second about having extra mouths to feed. Actually, her face lights up. She happily tells them that guests are forms of God. Despite having absolutely nothing to their names, Dhiru and Kajri offer up their home and cook a fantastic feast for complete strangers. It just proves their unwavering moral character.
You can really see how this one selfless act starts to bridge a massive gap in Dhiru's life. It forms this quiet but profound brotherly bond between him and Raman. These strangers, literally and figuratively, bring light into that damp, dark little house. The very next day, Raman actually insists on going with Dhiru to the warehouse to help him with his heavy physical labor. And naturally, the villagers mock this. They're laughing at the idea that the orphan Jinx suddenly has a guest doing his work for him. But Raman just tells Dhiru to ignore them. For the first time in his entire life, Dhiru has someone standing firmly in his corner.
But before any good karma can be rewarded, he has to go through Section 4, the biggest test.
The odds here are just impossibly stacked against him, and his downfall is incredibly swift, brutal, and totally out of his control. Let's trace this timeline for a second. On the first night, a leak in the roof completely ruins the paper money he had painstakingly earned. By the second morning, all that exposure to the freezing rain gives Dhiru a severe fever. Even with that, he goes to work, letting Raman rest. By the afternoon, his fever is so bad that his weakness causes him to accidentally drop a heavy sack of grain right into the water, ruining it. And finally, by that evening, the cruel villagers pounce on this one mistake and drag him straight to the landowner, Thakur. It is a total masterclass in narrative tension.
And here we hit the absolute peak of injustice in this story.
We've got a wealthy, powerful landowner completely extorting a starving, sick laborer for a simple, totally unavoidable accident. Takur doesn't just demand the cost of the single ruined sack, he actually demands 3 times the amount as compensation. And to make matters worse, he fires Diru until the debt is paid in full, knowing perfectly well that Diru has absolutely zero way to earn that money now. Diru goes home just entirely broken. He cries to Kejri in total despair, repeating the very words society had brainwashed him with. I am unlucky, I can't keep anyone happy. The darkness for him just seems absolute.
Section 5. The happy reward of deeds.
Okay, get ready, because the narrative masterfully unravels in these 4 steps, completely flipping Diru's fate in an instant. First, Raman and Janki reveal their true identities. Turns out, they aren't poor travelers at all. They are incredibly wealthy city merchants. They hid it because they wanted to find people who cared for them genuinely, not just for their cash. So, they hand Diru stacks of money to clear his debt. Second, Diru marches right up to Takur, throws that extortion money in his face, and turns his back on that abusive warehouse forever. Third, Raman, seeing Diru's unparalleled honesty, offers him a full partnership in his city business. And then we get the 4th and final step, the incredible twist. As Diru is changing his shirt, Raman spots a distinct birthmark on his neck, a birthmark that perfectly matches his own. Yep, Diru isn't just a business partner, he is Raman's long-lost brother who went missing when they were kids.
So this brings us to the ultimate display of karma, because the Aru never abandoned his dharma, his righteous duty to be kind and hospitable. Even during his absolute darkest, most impoverished hours, he was rewarded with literally everything society told him he could never have. He moves to the city, helps manage the business, and becomes vastly wealthier than the cruel Takur ever was. The villagers who used to spit on him and call him a jinx, they are practically forced to respect him now. But most importantly, he finally gains the family connection he had yearned for his entire life.
This all leaves us with a really profound thought to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. The story of Diru and Raman might be an ancient one, but the lesson is entirely timeless. We are often so quick to judge people based on what they can do for us, or we get so caught up in our own daily storms that we just close our doors to those in need. So I want you to ask yourself, in today's fast-paced, highly transactional world, do we still value the disguised guest? If a stranger in the rain knocked on your door today, what kind of karma would you be writing for yourself? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating tale with me.